Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Does it work, the microphone? Yes? No? Yes, it works. So again, good afternoon, welcome. I don't stand up because we have to feel like at home in the living room, even if this at home I have more comfortable chairs, but okay, that's it. It's acceptable in any case. So welcome here. First session, the issue is how to improve, how to do better. And many of you have had already yesterday the first meeting with the NCP coordinators. By the way, my apologies, I was not there because I was here preparing for the sessions. And now the point is to share ideas, come up with new proposals, with new solutions in order to deliver a better service to our researchers and innovators, and something that is realistic. Not only the beautiful ideas that then are too expensive, too complicated, and so on. No, something that is realistic that we can really do in order to help our constituency. In general, all the NCP service, the network, your activities, our activities as well, if I may say, is well perceived. So we have a pretty good record, but we can do better. We must do better. We must strive for doing better. In particular, we get from time to time requests more training, more dissemination, more exploitation, more support, synergies, how to do, and so on. So a lot of issues that I would like to come up in this session so that we can figure out what we can do better. What is missing, what we don't do, and we should do. What we do, and we should do better. Or if you want, also what we do, we should stop doing it. It's even better. But you have the questions, no? How do you put the questions in the agenda? But Carolina has already prepared some questions that came from the open consultation. You know that we have had this first phase of co-design on the web, which, by the way, it is open until the 4th of October, both for the content of the strategic plan and for the implementation of Horizon Europe. How is the formula? I will ask our panelists to say a few words on this and share with us their own views. And then please come up with ideas. Now, later, it's a continuous process, of course, but this is the occasion to start. Panelists, let me start with Viktoras Mongirtas, who is from Lithuania, doctor in civil engineering and then national contact point experience. Dr. Iraklis Ayovlasitis, who's Austrian, and he's a chemical engineer with focus on data analytics and algorithmic modeling. Dr. Carolina Rodriguez, and forestry, environmental engineering, plus an MBA and PhD in innovation and technology policy. And Jano Schmidt, who's a background in economics with an MBA and also in management and business administration, but also in international project management. Both Carolina and Janos are colleagues, so we are all in the commission where real guests from outside. Viktoras, you want to share your first idea? How are the slides? Is you first. Typical. Yes, so, typical. Carolina is always.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, by the way, if you have downloaded the app Slido, you will see already that you can include some answers in the app. We have prepared 3 open questions. One is, what current services for project proposers should be reinforced? Second, what could be extra needed from the Commission services and agencies for better services? And third, what further synergies should be envisaged in practical terms? So, yes, the point is that while you can see that in Slido, we will go very quickly to set up the basis for reflection and for further discussion. So let's start with one of our consultations, the implementation strategy one on the outreach, when we have asked on which support services have you interacted, if any, during the course of Horizon 2020, we see that over 70% is on the national contact points. This is obvious. It's a very well-perceived system, and we are happy on that. This is the current state of play that we have. Also, we arrive a little bit above 40% when speaking about EU support offices or similar in every single organization. This is a very interesting data for us as well. Around 35% said that when trying to better understand the Horizon 2020, and they have consulted professional consultants, training to beneficiaries, and the coordinators day. And we can say that among 25% of the respondents said that the outreach events in member states are useful still, and a little bit less the research inquiry service. And there are above 10% that didn't use any of these services. So what do we have now on the national contact point, this extensive, very well consolidated network that we have here? So far we have above 2,600 nominations in member states, associated countries, and third countries. And the mission, as, as it is stated in the guidelines, is to provide a highly professional support services. NCPs operating nationally form an essential component of Horizon Europe. Will form, as it is now, an essential component of Horizon Europe implementation. And the main objective is really to target best potential candidates for beneficiaries to deal with the impact that we want to achieve. So as another point for reflection here, we have a very well consolidated system, the NCP system already, as we have seen. What else can we do regarding the novelties of Horizon Europe? We are talking about research and innovation, impact-driven design first. Second, mission orientation as well. European Research Council and also European Innovation Council. What else can we do to better enhance the services for project proposals to deal with these novelties? Also, what we have now is the strategic plan that will give directions to the goals. The services should be tackling the goals as such. This is a very important point as well, to see how best we can improve the communication flows with the Commission and the agencies, and also foster best practices among the national contact points. Also, we should have in mind the possible structure of Horizon Europe, divided into 3 pillars, and a transversal one on widening. So having said that, I think this is from my side, to what concerns the state of play of NCPs mainly, and I will give the word to my colleague Janos.
Probably I don't need, I have the micro.
For the slides.
Sorry? I believe that we don't have this information here. It's technical, but don't worry, because we will have the same questions in the open discussion, and of course we are at your disposal for further discussion afterwards.
Did somebody understand how to enter with the code that can?
The IBAN code for the slide.
I hope it's not the IBAN. I'm worried about it.
No, it's a number for
Somebody has a ready information? Sorry.
But I think it's in the application for the event as well, because you can directly access Slido through the B2Match application for the event. So if you don't go to the Slido website and you go to the application.
Okay, no, that's point. Because you have to go via B2Match. It's a normal Slido application, but goes through B2Match. If you didn't enter B2Match, we don't have the Slido, sorry. Janos, you want to enter this now with this?
Yes,
this
I
issue?
will then just continue what Carolina just started with. My name is Janusz Schmidt. I'm from DG Grow, from the unit that deals with Enterprise Europe Network. And a very warm welcome also from my side. And also, I would like to take the opportunity to thanks to our colleagues in DG Research and Innovation for their very kind approach to be co-designer and co-organizer of this session. I hope we will take this opportunity. We also have Enterprise Europe Network partners here. You can raise your hands here. So we have here some network partners with whom you can also just get into touch after the session or during the session also. We can have a very open chat. For those of you who have never heard about the network, just very quickly, we are the biggest support network for SMEs worldwide with over 600 business support organizations in over 60 countries. So we are not just operating in the EU itself, but also wide beyond that. And our network partners, they are all embedded perfectly in their regional and national innovation and business ecosystems, and they combine, they mesh very interestingly this international expertise with their regional knowledge. The EN consortia that cover at least a 1 NUTS2 region, they mostly consist of 5, 6 partners, and they cover all these services that you can see on the slide. What is really interesting for you as NCPs, of course, that the network is pretty much involved in partnering services, building also partnerships for Horizon 2020 now, but later on Horizon Europe calls. And of course we have targeted innovation support measures that ranges from innovation management, capacity building services, up until the key account management services that we provide to each SME beneficiary, currently of the SME instrument that is about to phase out, but then under the enhanced DIC pilot. And we also started 2 years ago a specific startup scale-up project targeting only the scale-ups in the regions. We also are in the phase where you, in DG Research, you are in the phase of creating the future. And for this purpose, we have developed on a vision for the network, for the future, that was already adopted, endorsed also in a co-design way with the network partners 2 years ago. So we are working on the implementation of this vision. The most important objective of which is to create the highest impact for our clients, for SMEs. And that's the most important message. We want to maximize the impact that we can achieve with our services to the clients. And of course, the very ultimate goal for the network itself is that we become an acknowledged support network of excellence and an indispensable European arm of the regional national ecosystems. In operational evolution terms, we would like the network partners to adopt a much more stringent client-centric approach. What matters is really the client and the client's needs. We introduce also the concept of the client journey. It is not just a one-off service that we would like to give to the clients, but really take the client with hand and grow with the client with all the different needs that the client might have over a period of time. And that is a big challenge for us. You have seen on the previous slides the different services of the network, to how to provide integrated services so that we also in the network, we do not fall into silos, providing business advisory services and innovation-related services. So that integration is also our homework in our own territory. But more importantly, in order to maximize this impact, we really need to join forces. Join forces with all the other innovation support actors at regional, national level in order to provide the best available service to the problem of the client, and also to avoid the waste of time and the waste of effort and the duplication of services. In concrete terms, what we have already achieved, the national contact points, they are a strategic ally and strategic partner for the Enterprise Europe Network. We have already developed years ago a cooperation guidelines for our network partners with the NCPs, and each of our 17 sector groups, they teamed up with the different thematic NCP networks. Sometimes even 2 or 3 sector groups of the network, they have signed a memorandum of understanding. And you can see what is actually on the slide. Each memorandum of understanding foresees that the task force is formed, and they have a rolling plan for every year with a lot of different activities. Iraklis will tell you in a minute a bit more about all these very good existing practices that we see. Just to wrap up, and I will finish here, what is the timeline for the future EN? This is what you might also ask. We are starting now for the last operational cycle of this current setup of the EN that will run until 2021, and we will launch the new call for proposals in the course of the first quarter of 2021, so that the new network with the new setup can actually start as of January 2022. I will finish here.
Yeah.
That was just a very short introduction.
Yeah, thank you. And just to recall the fact that in the Commission proposal and the Member States and Parliament political agreement, there is the intention of the continuation of the support for the research and innovators. So this is the political intention. Now the point is to optimize, to do as well as possible. And now Victorias will tell us about best practices.
So here is some compilations I have made from conversations with my colleagues and from myself practice as well, because I'm working as NCP from the beginning of Framework 7, and actually these all issues raised here, maybe they're a little bit biased to widening countries, because myself I am from Lithuania. It's a EU13 country, so maybe someone from audience will have some comments or useful proposals to scare off my fears and to put the input in this problem solving. For us as NCPs, of course, the thematic projects are very, very important. So, and for clients, it is like you have not one consultant, but a number of consultants merged into one group, one project, which can deliver much better services and training and so on, everything what is needed to beneficiaries. But here I want to say that the core functions of informing, awareness raising and so on now are not enough, because the main problem, at least as I can perceive it, raises with increasingly complex framework programs, not maybe in the terms of beneficiaries or administrative burden, but in terms of cross-disciplinarity, cross research, and the bigger impact and policy measures needed to implement through them. So taking everything into account, the NCPs should be included in measures targeted to improve the governance, especially in EU 13 countries, in research and innovation systems, especially when raising awareness of decision making, which is very big gap. Here I made some very general scheme how the NCPs I'm pointed at. You can see there are no connections, because I see quite a gaps, how to say, between these lines or hierarchy lines. Lucky are those countries who have only one bubble in each of two bottom lines, one host organization, especially when it is focused on European research area funding, on framework program, maybe some derived programs like co-fund programs like GTIs or GPIs, and then they can build a strategy and give some feedback to the authorities or ministries, which sometimes are not very eagerly to express the interest in the research. So cooperation. Actually, all these problems, all these insights, challenges can be solved with the help of the NCP projects. Are a good instrument to solve all these problems. Just maybe some points to mention. It's here is a sharing practices among NCPs. When like practices like developing strategic platform in different countries, communication methods and prizes and national support systems of proposers. It's good to set up some indicators, compare them between NCP structures in different countries, and found out differences and propose possible solutions. What is feedback from NCPs to policymakers, to strategy implementers, and how NCP's expertise can be used in trainings. The trainings now again, not only for beneficiaries, the trainings are needed. Now more and more the trainings are needed through the projects and to stakeholders and policymakers, because they are really sometimes have very low awareness of ERA funding, so complex structure, because they are oriented to national funding. So there must be some practice sharing and on national support measures for proposers. Also, the main message to be sent is that the policymakers in national countries, especially in EU 13, would project the national funding as a leverage for not only national but the structural and investment funds as a leverage to attract FP funding, because sometimes measures implemented nationally are like a competitors to the FP programs. Widening issues. Again, widening, I stand for widening issues and all possible measures. More brokerage event, more services, more regular regional cross-border info, practice sharing days with different content, again, to both to beneficiaries and different content for stakeholders or for policymakers. It will be very good if new widening instruments will be implemented in Horizon Europe like they are set it now. Communications, despite all possible functional mailbox, research inquiry service, etc., there's still some complaints from NCPs and need for better information, for better identified of ways, principles, hotline, contact person. Maybe it is need for some standardized procedure and standard set of information to be distributed before each call. That is all.
Thank you, because always better. We all want something better, but what does it mean better? Irakli.
Thank you. Good afternoon also from my side. My name is Iraklis. Actually, I have been an NCP in the past, Enterprise Europe Network in the past, and I'm currently coordinating the innovation service of Enterprise Europe Network in Austria. And I was in the past in Greece. That's a connection with the name. And actually, I have a disclaimer before I start my presentation. The opinions in that presentation are not at least only my own opinions. We tried to compile some best practices along with almost the 10, 15 Enterprise Europe Network colleagues that are here present in this room today in order to contribute positively to this dialogue and to this invitation at the Enterprise Europe Network to see what works best and what could work better in the future. But a very important thing that I would like to highlight at the beginning of this presentation is that the national contact points and the Enterprise Europe Network are two different stakeholders, two different actors in the same ecosystem. If I would use a very favorite quote from my big fat Greek wedding, one of them is, we are apples and we are oranges, but we are both fruits. And we have a different focus, right? The national contact points have a national role. They focus on AIDS 2020 EU national funding, but they focus on the project, the proposal, the implementation of each project. Whereas Enterprise Europe Network has a more regional approach, is active in the region, focuses on regional contacts, innovation and internationalization, and focuses on the company, the SME as a whole. And we are not alone as fruits in this forest. We have synergies, and we also have the further regional national support ecosystem in that forest. And we try to make the best for our proposers, our target group, our clients, in order to help them. If there would be only one best practice that I could highlight and stop my presentation here, it would be to have everything under one roof. But, as we saw from Victor's as well, it's not very easy to appoint everything on the same organization, the NCPs, the Enterprise Europe Network, and have everything there. There are best practices like that. In Austria, the FFG is a one-stop shop for the Enterprise Europe Network and the NCPs. In Cyprus, it's also the similar situation. In UK, there's a big nationwide organization, Innovate UK, which coordinates and integrates this collaboration. But the situation usually is that there are usually no common host organizations and different level of collaboration between these fruits in the forest in the different countries. So we try to compile an overview of tools that we have been using because we are working on the ground, we are working with clients, and we are talking to each other in different countries and in different settings. And we have tried to devise tools, methodologies that makes us collaborate with each other and make our life easier for the benefit of the proposers. And there are very simple tools, as already described, trainings, workshops, info days. We do info days, both NCPs and Enterprise Europe Network. And we do it on a national or on a regional level, and we collaborate on that. We do proposal reviews, proposal checks. We have client advisory services, and we have brokerage events where we try to bring and bridge different communities and different worlds. And this, we have interview trainings in depth, and different tools are initiated sometimes from the EN community, Enterprise Europe Network community, sometimes from the NCP community. And this is the first column of the tools that we have already that are working well and we should keep. But there are also other tools that should change and adapt to the current needs of the framework programs. Let's say like the key account management and then the coaching. It should adapt to the European Innovation Council. We have other tools initiated by the NCPs, such as the annotated template for the SME instrument, which should adapt to follow, again, the new enhanced pilot of the EIC or the EIC in Horizon Europe. And we have an EIC community. We have the partner searches to expand, innovation management, a tool of the Enterprise Europe Network that is very powerful and flexible and could adapt to support further financing options for the proposers, and other tools that we need to invent. Let's say tools that are not there. An investor search tool, trainings on financial issues for us, for the intermediaries, for the NCPs, joint exchange events, new EIC support and networking services. This is just an overview of the tools, but in order to give you a better understanding, I just wanted to highlight some best practices that we have gathered in order to explain the added value of these best practices and how they come. Let's say brokerage events. It's the picture on top right-hand side, where the Enterprise Europe Network and the NCPs bring target groups from different sides, like the ICT Proposers Day or the ICT Conference. The NCPs bring more of the academia side, and the Enterprise Europe Network brings SMEs to a project, to a conference where both sides meet to create new consortia for EU co-funded projects. And while SMEs play a more important role at the impact of these projects, then these two worlds that previously did not speak together come and fertilize, co-create new ideas and new projects. This was just a picture of ICT conference in Vienna last year, where in 3 days only 6,000 meetings between project proposers for ICT calls took place. I could also highlight a best case example initiated from an NCP network, Access for SMEs, that created the annotated proposals template for the SME instrument, which is a very useful guidebook for a company concretely how to write a proposal for the SME instrument and how to write a pitch deck when it's invited to Brussels to pitch. This is a tool that EEN, NCPs have been using at their advisory meetings with their clients, and the clients really, and I have the feedback from many clients of mine that say that's a perfect tool. That's the only thing I need to do to try to answer to this template that the Commission has for me. And this is a very useful tool that we have to adapt to. This is specific for the European Innovation Council. I could also mention some other regional examples where trainings or webinars from the intermediaries to their intermediaries have concrete outcomes. In Spain, a webinar conducted by the NCP for SME project to the EEN advisors, so it was not a webinar for the proposers, but for the EEN advisors, made it possible for them to provide in-depth advisory services for the enhanced EIC pilot. So the NCP for the SMEs told them how to screen a right proposal and how to help your clients provide the right advisory services for the EIC. This means that the NCP SME is outsourcing its services and uses the Enterprise Europe Network as a multiplier, not only of information, but also of in-depth advisory services. And during 1 hour that this webinar lasted, 25 people are able along the country to provide these high-level advisory services. Key account management, a common interface between two worlds, NCPs and EENs. That's a best case example from many countries, not only from Austria, but also from many countries where the first meeting for the key account management, where the client is informed about the successful project that has been initiated for enhanced EIC, is conducted by both an NCP and an Enterprise Europe Network. What's the positive effect of that? Well, the NCP might have done the proposal check and knows the client and can support the client at everything that is needed about the project implementation, technical reporting, financial reporting, all questions about the project. And the Enterprise Europe Network is there to provide the needs analysis and support the coaching process. Or even more simple tools, like how the both worlds speak together. From Slovenia, a best practice example, the NCP coordinator initiated a standardized process where every 2 years the NCPs meet with EN and have a rolling plan and decide on common actions. So let's say dissemination of partner searches on a monthly basis and common trainings on topics that are of high interest at that time. And that time was interview trainings and pitching trainings, how to pitch. And another very good case example initiated at that time from the NCP are the thematic groups of EEN. The thematic groups, and following from what Janos said, are different dialogue, bottom-up measures, groups in the Enterprise Europe Network who work on specific topics. Let's say an example on research and innovation projects. And this thematic group on research is collaborating with the NCPs and the Access for SMEs, for instance, NCP network, or other NCP networks, to provide other meet and exchange or workshops that have an added value for both worlds. This is just some examples of good practices. And before closing my presentation, I just wanted to highlight some critical success factors for the future collaboration. From that slide, what you just need to take out is the communication, strong communication, with standardized collaboration tools and joint activities. That helps build trust between national contact points and between the Enterprise Europe Network. That will highlight our professionalism and expertise, and that will inhibit this perceived competition that is existent still in some countries, because there is no real competition between both networks. We just have to work together, hand in hand, and provide our expertise credibly and our knowledge for the benefit of their proposers. And this will help. Communication is the key action to that. And I'm closing with this slide, which has our vision for the future. Let's say a wish list that will also be probably useful for the discussion that will follow on right now. A wish list for the Commission on what we would like to have from the Enterprise Europe Network. An EU-level exchange between NCPs and Enterprise Europe Network at specific events like this one today. That's a perfect example. Common exchange meetings between Enterprise Europe Network and NCPs. Include the need to have an active NCP and EN exchange in the Code of Conduct of Enterprise Europe Network and in the NCP guidelines, if possible. And share information of all relevant developments, new projects, new calls, new activities, new events with both networks if possible. Even furthermore, share information on the project submissions, not only the successful projects, but maybe also the failed projects, if of course the proposers want to the Enterprise Europe Network for the benefit of the proposers. We have to respect GDPR, we have to respect the proposers, but maybe, and that's also a very good example, sometimes a failed project proposal could help a company go further beyond with the right advisory services, which could come, in that case, from the Enterprise Europe Network. Define roles for Horizon Europe and common services as soon as possible, and adapt or build on the current successful tools and working practices. And that was our vision. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And so you're catching consensus, or you have a very good friend in the room. So, colleagues, a lot of ideas, food for thoughts to trigger discussion. At the end of this session, Carolina will then prepare, not in the end immediately, but will prepare a one-pager with your ideas and with the best ideas and what is something that we can bring home in order to bring it then to possible implementation. So that now you have to help us to help as much as possible. So what are your feelings either about what has been said by the speakers or your ideas, what we could consider and do? Not that we promise to do what you say, so there's not a bit of realism, but what is the input that you would like to do, what to give, what would you like to see?
Anyone would like to first react?
Yes, you have to. I don't know how it works, because yeah, it's okay. Yeah, that's it. At least it is energetic.
All right. So there's one question there that wasn't raised, and it's the relation.
Not working the mic.
Now it's working, I think. No?
Yeah.
The relation between the Commission services and the NCP network. This is something that, at least in our case, in the legal and financial world, let's say, sometimes through the help desk, this could be improved. So that's a question for you and how we could do it.
No, you should not ask a question. You should say how we should improve. Otherwise,
already said, but I'll repeat it.
Okay, but we got the message.
Right.
This is then for Carolina. So improving the relationship Commission NCP network.
You can throw the ball.
Yes, exactly. This is the way.
So thank you for the presentation, so very interesting. So what I have seen there...
Excuse me, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, please. So I'm Julia Mihail, and I'm National NCP Coordinator in Romania. So what I have noticed during the presentation is some words that was mentioned several times about standards, about once again standardization, commons, things like this. So what I would like on my side is to see also for the NCPs, as we do have a minimum standards, maybe to have also a recommendation on how to organize the NCP network at national level. So minimum standards on how to organize the network at national level. And I will stop here.
Yeah. Another input? Yes, please, then it's easy.
Thank you. Zygmunt Krasiński. NCP National Coordinator of Poland. So thank you for your presentations. I think I'm involved in this profession, we can say, because it is recognizable as a profession already.
It is a mission.
But also
it's
mission and profession, yes. Since FP6. What we observe is that program by program, it looks like we are improving our services, our NCP system in Europe. So I think it is a good idea to have as a base what we achieved under Horizon 2020, and it was very nicely summarized by Victoria's. But there is a lot of to develop important for further improvement. From my point of view, because I represent Poland, we would like to especially focus on this widening issue. Because as we know, we have the common understanding document for Horizon Europe already. We know that the widening, we can say, package will be increased at least 4 times. So this support, this special system of support on the national level for teaming applicants, because it is also related to the synergy. Synergy wasn't mentioned so far, so yeah, it is important. But also we have a new horizontal widening instruments like Hop-on scheme, or also we should take into account this exec selection criterion, you know. This widening is important from two point of views, because first of all, we should use the whole potential of all the European regions, yes, for creating the EU competitiveness. And from the other side, we should work on the bridging this innovation gap and things like this. So what I would like to underline, that what is our Polish experience, we should more focus on exchanging the good practices between widening country NCPs. For example, in support services for widening instruments. Yeah. So it is crucial to continue this widening NCP network, but in a different form with the new goals, because we have also this horizontal new widening instruments on the table. We appreciate very much the role of the NCP networks, especially taking into account the opportunities for cooperation with Enterprise Europe Network, because we have the network thematic projects and sector groups of Enterprise Europe Network. As we regularly report during the NCP coordinators meeting, there is about 20 international brokerage events organized, most of them together in cooperation with Enterprise annually. So it is something. So for the new framework program, it would be good to develop such events, more such events in widening country, in my opinion. We should also focus on matchmaking services, but also pre-proposal checks, for example.
The pre-proposal checks is another issue. We have an experience in the past, as you know.
But individual support, it is what we should share. So mentoring activities.
Very clear. I don't know if you want to react or just you want to keep this in mind.
I think they are very valuable comments. So I would continue, as we have been speaking for more than half an hour. I would invite you, both NCPs and non-NCPs and EN, please, to come up with new ideas and to react to what we have. Please.
Can you give it that? Once
Please
again, all these
yourself.
ideas will be put in our conclusions of the session. So even if after the session you have ideas, you go to Carolina and so on, so that she can compile. But I would like also to understand which are the ideas that gather more interest, that are more interesting for more participants. But please.
Hello, it's Caroline Gray-Stevens from Scottish Enterprise.
Closer.
Like this, like apparently.
I have to talk to it.
Yeah. It's the first time for everybody. So.
I love it. So I was just very interested in the whole discussion, and certainly in Scotland we work very closely with the national NCPs through Innovate UK, and we feel that it works extremely well. So just taking on from the previous comment, I think this idea of potentially common standards sounds interesting as an approach. So maybe common approaches to information events, not that it's always ad hoc and that we do it sometimes and sometimes not, but maybe there should be a common approach and processes at national level that those sort of activities should be expected to be done together between the two networks. And for the NCPs as well, just to say, you know, we really value your services because you have the knowledge. And what we bring to the table actually is reach. You know, there's one of you and maybe there's 120 people on the ground that can help bring proposals to the table, who can help bring more value in some senses to things. So I really see that building a systematic approach to how we work together, I think would work and would maybe break down some of the barriers that we are perceiving at the moment. So that was all. I just want to say I'm really looking forward to working more closely with you guys in the future.
Yeah, thank you. And Victoria's already was mentioning about the indicators, because I was a chemist in my youth. So the idea of how you measure success, so how the success looks like, how can you compare NCP services, because then you can identify the best practices and the standards. But please.
Good afternoon. My name is Camille Épinay, and I'm both NCP and EN for the region of Brussels.
Perfect.
Double hat. And I'm also speaking as task leader for collaboration with EN inside the NCP networks, NCP Care for Environment for the Social Change 5 of Horizon 2020. My contribution will be to stress that the roles that the thematic NCP networks have done in the past for collaboration with EN. Thanks to the budget that we had in NCP Care, I could organize a joint training. We could organize like common meeting at local levels and so forth. And without this money, we would not have been able to do these activities. And we have also tried to foster like best practices. I have also the case of we have the Portuguese colleague have, for instance, developed following a meeting that has been done in our program. They have developed a memorandum of understanding, and they have adapted the templates, which is now available for all NCPs from the network. So it's not only the money, it's also about the framework that is giving. Thank you.
And we can help for sure with the framework, with the money as well, if member states and parliament also decide, of course. Yes, please.
Hello, Czech Republic Financial and Legal NCP. We would very much appreciate the possibility to have kind of a playground concerning funding and tender opportunities portal for us, because really often when we would like to give good services to clients, we don't have access to reporting sessions, to audit sessions. We have to create faked proposals to see what the clients see. And it's very difficult for us. And I think it would help to us a lot, and it could improve even our services, and we can have less questions on a commission because maybe we can see it, it's easier for us, and it's even easier for the commission, than the beneficiaries, because we know what they can see and we cannot. Yeah, and maybe the solution is either the playground where we can just have it open all the time, just NCPs and EN networks, or at least kind of create a video where we can see what's going on inside. I don't know, but playground would be the best solution. Yeah.
Irakis, you were mentioning the learning from the failing proposals, but the point of confidentiality, of course, particularly for companies, is essential. But it's an issue. Sorry, I lost the. Yes, please, the cube.
Can you please stand up?
No, vabbè, with the poor one. We say that we have to relax.
That's okay. I am Bronwyn. I'm the UK NCP from Mechanisch Security Actions. And I just wanted to, first of all, say I fully support the comment that we just had about having better access to the portal. And I think probably not the only one who would support that. So as a number one recommendation, that would be on the list.
Okay.
But also talking about communication from the Commission. The applicants expect us to know more than them, but if we only ever receive the same information as they do, or receive it after them, we can never be in a position to actually know more. So we have to foster our own relationships and do our own networking within for us it's with DG YAC or ARIA, and because we have the personal connection, we can get additional information that will then help our applicants. But actually, that's not the fairest way to go about it. We should all have access beyond just what they have, and we shouldn't have to rely on our ability to network and to get in. And we're fortunate we're based in Brussels. It's very easy for us, but many of my other counterparts, NCPs, are not based in Brussels and have a different level of access. So that would be something that I would recommend. The other one is to talk about silos. As Marie Curie NCP, I only ever hear about what's happening in Marie Curie. I luckily sit next to ERC NCPs for the UK, so I can find out what's happening with ERC. But I don't sit with the Innovate team in the UK, so I don't hear and receive any of the information that they do. And yes, you could say that's a failing on their part not to distribute, but actually, if the agencies in the Commission had a minimum standard of information that all NCPs should receive for all of the schemes, I think that would really help to break the silos down, so that we'd be more open to having joint events or joint activities. And I think that would be another one of the recommendations.
Of course, the level playing field is our moral duty. I don't like to use big words because it's always a bit too much rhetoric, but it's really a moral duty that we have. You have there, yes. Can you throw it? Yeah. Exactly. At least we surprise you with little things. It was cheap, by the way. It was not too much expensive.
Natasha Witorski, I'm NCP for different topics in Belgium, and just a small idea for the Commission. We spoke about better communication between the Commission and the NCP, and probably common standards on how to regulate this communication. One idea would be perhaps best practice exchanges between NCP correspondents within the Commission, because we see that there are very successful things happening for some NCPs, and well, the situation is quite diverse depending on which NCP you are. For some NCP, they have a strong relationship with the correspondent, and they receive a lot of information. There are good events organized, and for others, it's completely different. So there are already very good things happening, and this very good things should happen for all NCPs, whatever their field.
Yeah. Thank you. Is there somebody who is not an NCP who has to say something bad about the NCPs and say that I tried to with my NCP, I went to him or her, and bad. Throw the cube, please.
There is one here.
Thank you. I don't want to stimulate polemics, but just to to make it more instructive for us.
Yes, hello, my name is Kasper Sozos. I'm coming from Riga, Latvia, and I'm not from NCP, and I feel a bit afraid because there's a lot of NCP guys here. But yeah, I'm a researcher, and from researcher's perspective, I think this is important for you to hear. At least for Latvia, I believe what could be improved is the recruitment process, because usually, not all experts, but some of NCP experts, at least in Latvia, are not experts in their fields. I mean, they haven't worked in the science for real, and they don't have a PhD. Okay, that's probably not that crucial, but the crucial thing is they are trying to help us to write project proposal, but they haven't write one proposal themselves yet. So this is impossible for them to actually help us. The other thing how the NCP could improve is to actually build a map or a list of competencies available in each country, in each institution. So when someone from abroad is reaching out for Latvian partners, they are well aware about the competencies available in the Latvia. So thank you.
Paldies. Throw it. So very interesting, which is can you throw it in this direction? Yes, maybe somebody can make a bridging. Yeah. Bravo. So which expertise, what is the training for an NCP, which is the expertise needed to be a good NCP?
I'm afraid I can't answer that.
No, but
hello.
Attack the NCPs.
No, I'm Max Adam from Innovate UK, and actually I wanted to build on Bronwyn's comment regarding the so whilst we have some good practice in the UK in so much we're under one host organisations, it's by no means working well or as well or optimally, shall I say. And I think that there's a big issue here that we have the thematic NCPs and then the horizontal NCP disciplines. And you have different practice that goes on clearly because of the different needs. So with the horizontal SME NCPs, they work more closely with EN. And so there are some good practices where they could be some middlemen for working within the community of the thematic NCPs. And I think it's incumbent on the individual member states, and I'm happy to say we, as of today, we still are a member state, to organise, to look at some individual best practices where they can then share across the board, so we can identify where it really is working well. Someone else said about EEN, we have boots on the ground, we have people on the ground. And I mentioned the horizontal NCPs for when you looked at when the SME instrument was first launched. Now we're in a different place because of EIC, and we'll be looking at blended finance, but you're going to need a different church, a different mix of expertise. You need people that understand the concept of blended finance. And then ultimately, I see that this could be a trend that could seep into the thematic pillars as well. So we should be ready for it and be sharing our competencies.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a speech, but I think there's so much more that we could do if we could just pool some of our resources a little better.
Of course, the European Innovation Council implementation opens new challenges. I don't know if the colleagues have 1 minute reaction that you feel that you have to react in a way.
No, I mean, from my side, thank you very much for all the inputs. We are at your disposal also to improve. We have the opportunity now to set up the new guidelines. So,
but
really
you have to work now because you have to prepare the one-pager summing up what the speakers have mentioned and what came out from the discussion. And if you want to have a say more, you reach Carolina, and so that you are sure that your ideas are in the take-home messages that we will bring home. Victoras, Iraklis, Janos, you have some...
No, I was also taking some very interesting notes, of course, that we will most probably follow up. I would just encourage you to take the chance also to get into touch with your EN colleagues here from your countries probably, and then discuss what can be still improved, what can be still done, what you have not done before. And I think we have to really take into consideration what has also been mentioned quite a lot of times, exchanging best practices, but also sharing competences. And also what Iraklis said, this feeling of being a competitor, this is absolutely not true. We have, like in a kaleidoscope, we have different parts there. And then we are sitting still in the same boat. We just have to really pull our resources together. Then I'm pretty convinced that we can really deliver the best services that the proposers need.
But our Latvian researcher insists that NCPs and ENN advisors should be credible. This is a point that he's pointed out, which was a good pinch. Any final remark, final issues that you want to say, Iraklis, Victoras?
I think that's a very good start to discuss more open with each other, and that's a very good framework. So I really appreciate this opportunity that we had this session today, and we had input from different sides. Communication is the biggest thing and the biggest issue, and we can solve it. And then we can really provide credible services to the proposers, to the researchers, by pooling our expertise, by creating these competence matrices in our countries, by trying to find out who is doing what best and how we can learn from each other best.
Communication, but also if you can expand a little bit on the concept that Victoras was mentioning of the indicators. What is the success? How the success look like? How you can measure? Because the more you can measure, the more you can compare, and then you can improve. Victoria's last word?
Just we can share the information as much as possible and our experience to set up the...
And then something will happen good.
Well, we learn, we get knowledge additional.
You have a point?
Yeah. Is it working? Yeah, sorry. Oh, I thought you were pointing to me. Why can't we have a yearly conference of NCP and EN. And then we really could share good practice. There are so many great competencies that we're just not even aware of. I'd like to challenge the guy out from Latvia, actually. So, perhaps we can talk later.
Okay, if this, there is a feeling that this can be of help, we can think about it. Be quick, because now we have to finish the time. If you have, throw it.
Can you please give it to...
Just question about the minimum standards draft. What is the plan where it is going to be published for us in Europe?
Yes, we have to do it. She will reply about the minimum standards, but we have to publish it, yes.
I'm from Atalis Funding, a company that works actually with contact points within the institutions. That is the other people that's suffering a lot. And I think that you guys need tools. And in the tender portal, there are calls addressed to many issues that you have. So I think you are kind of duplicating work. So maybe it would be nice to have a challenge or a public purchase about a tool for communication, for sharing experiences, for everything for EN, because you ask us companies to be disrupted, but you have to make the example.
Yeah, and you go in the village, in the cabana, in the home for implementation, and you will see new tools that we are developing. So please go to this home because you will learn, and I hope you will like what you see. Very last word you have there?
I have already spoken, so unless somebody else. But my key point was maybe also we've spoken yet about NCPs for Horizon 2020, but there are actually a lot of other EU programs, and I got a lot of questions about what if my proposals fit in this program or actually it fit in another program. So I would also suggest to think about making synergies with this national contact point from other programs. And I think for EN can play a role for channeling the information to the SMEs, but there are different target groups, and you can't speak to an SME or to a municipality the same way, and it's not the same program.
Yeah.
So that's my suggestion.
In any case, I bring home also your idea that for the beginning of next year to have a workshop, a common workshop to think about these issues with a little bit more of time than 1 hour. Thanks a lot. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you, everybody.